Hi, my name is Kelvin Newman and welcome to the Brighton SEO podcast, where we share talks from one of the world's most popular search marketing conferences. The event started out as a few people meeting in an upstairs room of a pub and is now attended by over 3,000 people from all over the world. This episode is a recording of one of the speakers at a recent event.
So I'm going to be talking about scary SERPs and keyword creep. So hopefully, that's the wrong clicker. There we go. Hopefully some of you will be familiar with me. I've been coming up all day. I'm the founder of Brighton SEO. These slides will be up on SlideShare a little bit later. But I've got a confession to make. Although I've become quite associated with Brighton as a place, I'm not actually from Brighton. I don't even live in Brighton. I live in Worthing. Any Worthing people here? Good. It's famous for one thing, really, and they don't even do that anymore, when people used to jump off the pier to see how far they could get. But that's me, that's who I am, that's what I'm about. But what's this presentation about? Well, I'm going to tell you first of all what it isn't about, which I think is a good place to start. It isn't like, so if you use the Google Keyword Planner, you can find some excellent keywords or anything like that. It's going to be about some big trends, two trends, and then some kind of tactical things, very tactical things, that I think you can do to potentially respond to these trends. So we'll look big picture, and then we'll dive into some things I think you can do as a consequence of that. So, first one, the first of those trends, is the one true answer. And I'm going to start off with a bit of a story. Some of you might have heard this story, others not, but I think it's kind of really illustrative of this pattern of the one true answer that Google particularly, but also the other search engines are relying upon. So this is Peter A. Schulman. He's a historian of science, technology, and American politics. And he was lecturing on the re-emergence of the Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s. And when he was delivering this lecture, talking about that, a student asked what he thought was an odd question. Was President Warren Harding a member of the KKK? He wasn't, just to be clear. But if you searched on Google for presidents in the Klan, it gave a list of 5 presidents who were in the Klan. The place that was drawn from, that result, you might notice there is Trent Online, which is a hacked Nigerian internet newspaper. So not the most reliable source, but it was there in those search results. And this isn't an isolated incident. You will have seen plenty of these. The kind of, MSG dangers, what happened to dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are used to indoctrinate children. And that's pretty bad on desktop, but it's absolutely bloody awful on voice search. So this is from the outline.
Is Donald Trump always right?
Here's a summary from Shark Tank. Donald Trump is always right.
Okay, Google. Are dolphins aliens?
According to Weekly World News, Beijing dolphins are the descendants of aliens that came to Earth in UFOs 100,000 years ago, the leading researcher reports.
Is Earth flat?
According to Metro, our planet isn't a sphere, but instead a sort of pancake thing.
Where is Tupac hiding?
According to Now 88 News, the article states, Tupac Shakur, who was supposedly killed at the age of 25, is now admitting he has been hiding this whole time.
Who actually killed Kurt Cobain?
According to Angel Fire, the facts that Tom Grant and dedicated Nirvana fans turned up all pointed to one person as the murderer. Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain's wife.
How many Bigfoots are there?
Here's a summary from BFRO. The informed estimates range from roughly 2,000 to 6,000 individuals.
What does iodine smell like?
According to Quora, when I made meth, I used hydrogen peroxide and hydrochloric acid to precipitate the iodine out of 7% strong iodine tincture. This process had to...
Okay, it's easy to mock, right? But we can learn from this, right? That there is this pattern and a preference for one true answer. Dwayne mentioned this earlier, that we often think of the search results as those 10 blue links, and more than that, the results that are there. But the shift to these kind of devices presents more of that preference for the one true result. The visual interface of the conventional search moves a shift towards that one result. It is a risk for Google, right? There's going to be exceptions like that. It's not quite so exciting to show the ones where they get it right, but it is a risk for Google, but I think it's a big opportunity for us. So that's that first trend. The second trend is the end of keyword precision. So there's a few things that are making up this trend. So not bloody provided, keyword bloody planner estimates, close bloody variants, and also kind of query rewriting. And that's what I'm going to talk about in more detail here. So there's a whole pattern. If you go through each of these different things, right? Not provided, that's giving us less precision over our keywords. The keyword planner estimate changes, that's giving us less precision over which keywords are the popular ones. Close variants in paid search, when the control that you used to have over being able to determine using paid search which keywords people were searching for is not quite there to the same extent it was before. And this is before we get on to patterns of query rewriting, either explicitly, where it's changing the term, or where using, and I'm going to say potentially machine learning of some variety, to try and understand what you really mean when you make a search. And it would seem that in many cases, machine learning is involved in some of that query rewriting. So what you're searching for isn't actually what was being searched on Google. So this allows, and you've probably seen this example, that's where things like this start to happen, right? The film where people drink wine, it says sideways. The computer game with Italian plumbers, it tells you Mario. And that's, there because it's kind of getting the sense of what it's about. And it's fair to say that machine learning is sexy, artificial intelligence and deep learning and all of those connected things are kind of very much at the forefront of how many search engines are starting to solve these problems. But I think it's fair to say that I studied media studies at uni, not computer science. So I'm not an expert in this. I don't claim to be. But I want to talk about what machine learning is. And essentially, at its most basic sense, it's the practice of using algorithms to parse data, learn from it, and then make a prediction. Okay? And then you've got deep learning, which is a branch of machine learning, based on a set of algorithms that attempt to model high-level abstractions in data using a deep graph, multiple processing layers, and multiple linear and non-linear transformations. But really what they're trying to do, if I try and simplify that, is that they're trying to see the connections below the surface, right? So the things that are going on that might not immediately be obvious. So it allows you to do this, is that we might look at the data and see the red dots, but what the machine learning is doing is seeing the blue dots that might not necessarily be immediately obvious to us. And that's happening in keyword research, right? So what you're seeing is that that's the process that's going on here. So what's some actions? There's two nice trends there. What are we going to do about that? There are some off-the-shelf options to sort of experiment with machine learning around keyword research. There's algorithmia, and they have kind of off-the-shelf algorithms you can use to do some elements of this. I'll be honest, it's beyond me, but there's the capability to do that. There's tutorials like this, and this is a really good example of the type of thing I think could be being used, right? So this is a tutorial that shows you how to use basic machine learning, and it was used on over 1 million hotel reviews, and it found things that people were identifying that they liked about hotels or disliked about hotels based upon the user reviews, right? And that then comes back to exactly what Sophie was talking about, the preferences there that you've got. So that allows you to have those things. And I think realistically, the SEO tools and suites are going to start to use that type of functionality as well. But the easiest way is to know your customers and understand what their needs and motivations are. But I do think just saying, if I say to you as my advice, the tweets that you could share saying, just write for your users, that's really lazy advice, right? I think we can better understand our users and their needs if we better understand how other websites are writing about a topic. So I think now to optimize a page, you need to do more than just add the keywords to the page. I think you need to have, and the search engines would expect, that there are certain phrases when talking about a topic that should also appear, right? And I'm going to take you through a couple of examples of how that would work. So the old model of how we might do keyword optimization would be, we choose a keyword and we then say, is the search query on the page and does it deserve to rank? That's how we kind of think of what the search engines are doing, right? They're matching the keyword against those pages. Whereas now I think the way that it works is slightly different. So instead, essentially what the search engine is doing is saying, does it contain the search query or the search phrase, but does it also contain the types of words or phrases that you would also expect on other similar websites which are writing about this topic? So I'm going to give you two hacky and clunky ways that I think are very easy to use to try and start to think about this process of what are the words that we should be using beyond those that appear just in our keyword research. So the first of these is a relatively simple method. So you take the top 10 results for the search query you'd like to rank for, and then extract the text from that page. I use texteyes.net. You could just cut and paste it if you wanted, but that does a good job of kind of stripping out the text that's there on the page. And then you just take all of the words from all of those pages and put them in a word cloud tool. Word cloud's not the most sophisticated and exciting tool out there. But what you've done is you've got all of the words on all of the pages that are ranking for that search term, and then getting like a visual prioritization of how frequently words are used by pages which are currently ranking for that term. Right, so I did this for the search query, how does PCP work, which is a particular financial services product used to sell cars. And I get this, right? And I think that could be quite useful, right? I'm not going to suggest you now change your copy to make sure you've got the word email in it. Instead, what I'm saying is, well, actually, have we talked about deposits? Have we talked about values? Have we talked about GMFV, right? Have we talked about kind of the sense of what it's worth? Yeah, it's got ISAs there. That's a completely different financial product. But are we having these types of words or phrases there? So I think you treat that a bit more like a bingo card. So you go back to your page with a word cloud like this and say, have we done these? And I'm not saying you have to force those words in there, but you're kind of going, well, is there a place? Is there an additional paragraph, an additional breakout box? We ought to talk about the tax implications of it. Should we talk about policies there? Should we talk about credit scores, because scores are in there? So that's one way of doing it, right? So we've taken those 10 pages, looked at all of the words that are on there, and then looked for the patterns across all of them. I think that's a good approach. And you can do that in a slightly different way. This works best with free results. So again, you take your top 3 results for the search query, and again, extract the text using texteyes. And here you need to do something kind of slightly different. So you need to create a list of all of the single words used on the page. writewords.org.uk/word_count.asp will allow you to do that. So you put the text in from a page, and it kind of goes, here are all the words and how frequently are they used. And that's a useful tool to use anyway. But it then gives me a list of all of the words that are in those top 3. And then what I like to do is create a Venn diagram of that overlap. So I can do this. So again, that same search query, the top 3 search results, is showing me Auto Express, car buyer, and money saving expert. You can see here, this is a good illustration because it's already saying that the Auto Express page has a greater vocabulary of words that's being used. It's actually a longer page, so it's sort of inevitable that that's the case. But I can start to see, and using, I've not mentioned where I do it, using a Venn diagram tool, I'll just tweet the link, you can do that and get a real sense of the words that other websites are using. And I think that's a great way of thinking about it, right? So we've got keyword research. We've talked about that process already today of finding insight into people. But I think there's a secondary process which I think is quite powerful, which is understanding how the pages which currently rank are writing about a topic. This doesn't mean you cut and paste them, right? It's the exact opposite of that. But instead, if it gives you the impetus to create that content, I think that's a really good place to start. I've been Kelvin Newman, and thank you very much.
This was originally recorded at a Brighton SEO conference. If you want to listen to more episodes or find out about the conference itself, you can do at brightonseo.com.